Today, this section is going to talk about serverless computing. This section is going to talk about Azure App Service Plans, Azure App Services, Container Services, Azure Kubernetes Services. So these topics we have to look at. All these services, they are related mostly with applications. Such as with Azure Cloud, we can deploy many different kind of applications, such as .NET applications, .ASP applications, Node applications, Python applications, PHP applications. So once you build these applications, you'll be able to deploy in here. And we have many different deployment options, many different deployment plans we have. So you're going to look at all these things from these sections. So first topics we're going to discuss Azure App Service Plans. This section we're going to look at Azure App Service Plans, App Service Plan pricing tiers, App Service Plan scaling, App Service Plan scale out. So these topics we're going to look at. So Azure App Service Plans, it defines a set of compute resources for a web applications to run. Plans means, for example, what kind of applications you want, how much memory you want, what kind of servers you want. You'll be able to set up all the systems, what kind of storage you want. You'll be able to set up your own service plans. It determines performance, price, and features. One or more apps can be configured to run in the same app service plan. You can create a service plan, and after that, when you create new applications, you can use this service plan. Region where compute resources will be created, number of virtual machines instances, size of virtual machines instances, and pricing tier will be able to configure. So app service plan pricing tiers. Selected features, for example, web, mobile, or API apps. You can run 10 of them under free tier, then shared 100, basic, unlimited, standard, premium, and isolated. So they have a many different tier like free tier, shared, basic, standard, premium, and isolated. And disk space we have 1 GB, 1 GB, 10 GB, 50 GB, 250 GB, and 1 terabyte. You can see that isolated, high performance security and isolations. This one has most of the features. It supports auto scaling, deployment slot, maximum instances up to 100. More features this one support than free and shared and basic tiers. So shared compute means free and shared run apps on the same Azure VMs as other app service apps, and resources cannot scale out. So it has some limitations. Dedicated compute, basic, standard, and premium will be able to find dedicated compute services over there. Run apps in the same plan in the dedicated Azure VMs. Isolated runs apps on the dedicated Azure VMs in dedicated Azure virtual networks. So whether you have a shared plan or dedicated servers you want, you'll be able to select from here. So app service plan scaling. So scale up, change the app service plan, more hardware, CPU, memory, disk. So you can add up more CPU, more RAM and disk, more features such as dedicated virtual machines, staging slots, and auto scaling. So this kind of things you'll be able to do. Scale out means increase the number of VM instances. Manual fixed number of instances, auto scaling. Based on the predefined rules and schedules, you'll be able to increase the number of VMs. So with the scale up and scale out, you can add more features, you can remove features, so you can adjust the features, so you'll be able to do those kind of things. App service plan scale out. So adjust the available resources based on the current demand, improve availability and fault tolerance, scale based on a matrix such as CPU percentage, memory percentage, and HTTP request. Based on the usage and demand, you'll be able to make changes in here. Scale according to a schedule. For example, you want to run these applications in a particular period of time, or you have to run some specific resources in a particular period of time, such as weekend, maybe many people accessing your application, so you can add some resources in the weekend, so you can set up like that. Weekdays, weekends, times, and holidays, we have multiple options. Can implement multiple rules, combine metrics and schedules, and don't forget to scale in. So this demonstrations, we're going to look at create an app service plan, in Azure portal. After that, we're going to review the pricing, and we're going to configure the auto scaling. So these demonstrations, we're going to look at later on. Now let's have a look second sections, which is Azure App Services. So managing app service overview, this sections we're going to talk about Azure App Service, creating an app service, continuous deployment, deployment slots, creating deployment slots, securing an app service, custom domain names, backup service, applications insights, and creating an app service. So we're going to look at these areas. Azure App Services includes web apps, API apps, mobile apps, functions app. There are many different kind of applications you can run in this Azure App Services. It's a fully managed environment enabling highly productivity development. Platform as a service offering for building and deploying highly available cloud apps for web and mobile. So this platform handles infrastructure, so developers focus on core web apps and services. That means you don't need to install .NET, Node.js, and PHP. They are already there. You simply select the platform, and then you can deploy your applications. Developer productivity using .NET, .Core, .NET Core, Java, Python, and a host of others. So provides enterprise-grade security and compliance. So it's secured, and there are a lot of compliance as well. So creating an app services, name must be unique. Access using Azure websites.net can map to a custom domain. So if you deploy any apps, initially it will deploy under Azure websites, and later on we'll be able to change the name as well. We can replace with our custom domain name. Publish code, so runtime stack, publish Docker container, Linux or Windows machines, region closest to your users, app service plans. So these are the options you'll find during the application service creation time. Like for example, what kind of operating systems we want, what kind of development we want to run in this particular application services. We'll be able to select those stuffs. Whether we want to run the code or we want to use the Docker services, we'll be able to select those stuffs. Continuous deployment. Work in a single source control. Whenever code updates are pushed to the source control, then the website or web app will automatically pick up the updates. A continuous deployment workflow publishes the most recent updates from a project. Use the portal for continuous deployments from GitHub, Bitbucket, and Azure DevOps. So that means if you have some updates, because these days web applications always have some updates. If you have some updates, simply you deploy and it will take effect automatically. You can have multiple options or multiple slot over there. You can run the latest one all the time. And this deployment and web services, it will have connectivity with this GitHub, Bitbucket, and Azure DevOps. So they are the locations where developer normally push their coding over there. Deployment slots, so continuous deployment with stage slot. Deploy to a different deployment slot, it depends on the service plan. Validate changes before sending to productions. Deployment slots are live as their own host names. Avoid a cold start eliminates downtime. Fallback to a last known good site. Auto swap when pre-swap validations is not needed. So you'll have multiple options. You may have multiple versions of your sites, and you can change the sites. If something happened with one of the sites, you can have another versions and you can run that versions as well. So there are a lot of advantages we have inside these deployment slots. You may have multiple configurations, and based on your requirements, you'll be able to run the best coding or best applications. And this deployment slot also has a few options, like if it is a free, shared, or basic, you can have only one slot. But if you have a standard 5 slot, premium, you can have like 20 different slot or stage you can have. Isolated, you can have up to 20. So that means standard, you'll be able to keep 5 different slots, five different versions, and you can run, you can swap the versions and check. So all these steps you'll be able to do. Maybe one of them is for productions, another one is from testing. So you can have multiple options. So creating deployment slots, a new slot can be empty or cloned. When you clone, pay attention to the settings. Slot specific app settings and connection strings, continuous deployment settings, app service authentication settings. So when you create and deploy a slot, we'll have these options. Not all the settings are sticky. Endpoints, custom domain names, SSL certificate, and scaling. So when you deploy the applications, you'll be able to have your own domain name, SSL certificate, and also scaling. You'll be able to do all these stuffs. Review and edit your settings before swapping. Securing an app service authentications, enable authentications, default anonymous logging in a third-party identity provider. So for your application services, you'll be able to enable the authentications as well. And security, troubleshoot with diagnostic logs, failed request, applications login, add SSL certificate to HTTPS, define a priority order, allow or deny list to control network access to the app, store secrets in the Azure Key Vault. So that means you'll be able to monitor the application services, you'll be able to enable the HTTPS or SSL certificate, and if you want to store those certificate key, you'll be able to store in Azure Key Vault as well. So those are the security features, and also authentications will be provided by these application services. So custom domain name, It will redirect the default web, which is the Azure web, to a URL. Validate the custom domain in Azure and use the DNS registry for your domain provider. Create a CNAME or a record with the mapping. Ensure app service plan supports custom domains. So you need to choose a particular app service plan which support this renaming. So custom domain names is important. So when you deploy any web applications, it will be deployed under Azure domain, but with the custom domain, you can have your own domain name. So backup is important. Backup and app service. You can create app backups manually or on a schedule. Backup the configurations, file content, and database connected to an app. So backup is very important, which you'll be able to do as well. And for that, we need a standard or premium plan. So backups can be up to 10 GB of app and database content. Configure partial backups and exclude items from the backup. Restore your app on demand to a previous state or create a new app. So all these options we have for the backup purposes. Applications inside, this is the monitoring tools, request rates, deny rates, response times, and failure rates. How your applications is performing, you'll be able to view those stuffs. Page views and load performance, page views, user and session counts, performance counters, diagnostics and exceptions. So you'll be able to see all these stuffs. So demonstrations, create an app service, create a web app in the Azure portal, test the web app, configure deployment slots, configure backup. So these things we're going to look at during the configurations. So let's have a look a few things about applications. Let's log in to the portal. So at first, let's have a look the applications plan, app service plan. So let's have a look app service plan. Create app service plan.
Refresh. It's quicker.
Yes, it's I have noticed that. Like, yeah, we need to have a super browser maybe in future. Somebody creates some browser with that he can do many stuffs in the world.
One that works.
Yes, but even we don't have many browser these days. Only Chrome, 80% people. Firefox maybe, Safari, and then yeah, Edge is not really good. Yeah. So for this one, we're going to create a app resource group. Let's put app RG. App service plan details, name, uh, Z app service Z app service 1. Actually, this is service plan 1.
Linux.
Yeah, so in here, like what kind of operating systems you want to run. So you can select either Windows or Linux. Let's say we keep it Linux. And region, which region you want, we are working East US, we can pick up that one, or Central US will do in this case, leave like that. Pricing tier, so this is app service plan pricing tier, determine the locations, features and cost and compute resources associated with your app. So SKU and size we have, this is the specifications if you want to change. So you got multiple options for um, development and testing purposes. We have for less demanding workloads. Productions, we have multiple options. Um, plan 1, plan 2, plan 3. Then we have isolated. So this is the all tier we have.
Mhm.
Well, this one will leave it default. This is premium version 2 and review and create.
So this is just for the money value or the
Yes, what service, what subscriptions you want, kind of like that. Maybe if you deploy continuously applications over there, testing, deploying, leave it run for 3 days, 3 weeks or something. So for that, you may create a specific plan. You may have a DevOps one plan, for the productions another plan. So this is our plan. In this plan, we can select, at the moment we have overview, research group is created, locations we have, CPU percentage, memory, data in depth, you'll be able to see these stuffs. There's no applications running under that at the moment. We have file system storage. So basically we have networking. So based on the plan, we have these networking options. Then this scale up you can configure.
oh, planning, right?
It's creating, yes, it's creating in the backend services with all the CPU storage and everything. Yeah, kind of like in the backend, it's creating a virtual machines or servers, and that has all these elements. You can see that it name is a plan. Under this plan, we have CPU percentage, memory allocations, and data as well. There's no applications currently using these services. We have like storage informations and network informations. Now you can make some changes with the scale up and scale down. At the moment you have 200 total ACU, then 3.5 GB memory, and the pricing over there as well. But if you want to make changes, you can change in this one as well. After that, there's some, it has these features we have in here. So scale up is basically you upgrading your plan. That's pretty much it. And then scale out applications. In here, you can make some changes like manual scale, maintain a fixed instance count. Instance count is 1. You can make changes in here. There's a custom as well. You have a particular resource group, then scale based on a matrix, based on a instance count. So no matrix is defined. Click hyperlink, add a rule to scale out and scale in your instance based on the rules. For example, add a rule that increase instance count by 1 when CPU percentage is above 70%. So instance limit at the moment minimum 1, maximum 1, default is 1. This scale condition is executed when none of the other scale conditions is matched. So if you click on this one, you can create some conditions such as these rules. Add a rule. So time aggregations, average time, app service plan, standard matrix name, CPU percentage, instance operators and values. So if it is greater than 70% or 80%, if you want to change duration in 10 minutes, then um, time gain statistics average, what actions can be taken, increase count by, cooldown 5 minutes, or instance count 2. Instance is like a one CPU, two CPU like that, or one virtual machines, two virtual machines. They are the instances, the variables you can make changes. So actions will be increased count by or increase percentage by. So there are multiple options we have. So this is matrix source. This is the applications plan we have. After that, resource is fixed, time aggregations, count, maximum, minimum, sum. So time aggregations, matrix names, what kind of matrix you want. Matrix name is CPU percentage. Operators, if greater than, less than, equal to. If it is greater than 80%, then actions will be increase count by, cooldown minutes. Cooldown means the amount of time to wait after a scale operations before scaling again. For example, if countdown is 10 minutes, at a scale operator just occurred, auto scale will not attempt to scale until after 10 minutes. So it will wait for 10 minutes, it will see 10 minutes, and after that it will increase some instances. And if what time you want to apply these features, you can set up a start time. For example, weekend, or you can set up some time frame, like which particular day you want, you can set up from here. So when CPU, after that you can see this is, I'm working on the default one. When this application plan, app service plan CPU percentage is 70, then it will increase the instances. It will wait for 10 minutes and so, and then after that it will increase. So this kind of scale out features we can add. Okay, so and after that you just need to save these informations. It's kind of more on automations. You can set up some automation steps, and based on the requirements, it will change. So after that, let's have a look the applications. So these informations, when you create the apps, we'll be able to add these informations with that. So let's go to app services and create app service. You can not inside, just simply say app service. App services. All right. So now when you create web app, so at first we go to web app services, then create app service. Then we're going to select our subscriptions and resource group. We can select that same resource group we have created today, which is app RG, application resource group, then Z web app 1. So you can name it. So you need to have unique name. After that, publish means you can publish coding or Docker container, but let's have a look coding runtime mistakes. So what you want, what particular things you want to run over there. So you got like many different applications. So let's say Python applications you want to run. So you can select Python.
Yeah, is that the platform it runs on?
Yes, is these applications need to be based on this one. Python applications you can run in these app services. Now region, I think we'll select Central US.
Yeah.
So leave like that. Now in here you can have a app service plan. So this is the app service plan we have created. So you can select that one, and then after that review and create, and click create.
Hmm.
It's the browser, I think. Yeah, browser is playing up.
Sometimes it's good to no notification.
So once deployment is done, then we'll be able to go to resources. So your Python platform is ready. After that, you'll be able to deploy the coding in here. And this is your application's URL. You copy this one, go to another sites, run. So this is already running in here. Your app service is up and running. Time to take next step, deploy your code. After that, you build your code and stuff, and you can deploy in here.
I'll let you do that. I'll try the web page.
After that, there's a steps in here. For example, you need to go to deployment. When you go to deployment, click on quick start, and that's where your Python coding and stuffs you need to deploy. In order to deploy that one, you need to build the coding. After that, from the local machines, it's work with mostly with the Azure CLI. From the Azure CLI, you need to deploy this one to this point. You need to point these applications in this web portal. So if you click on this one, it, it will work. Then you can then you can then you can follow these instructions. For example, for this one you need to create this is a Python based installation, so you need to have a Azure account, Python, and Azure CLI. So Python need to be installed over there. This is on premises, your local machines. After that, you can clone the sample. Sample means like somebody built this Python docs hello world, this coding someone built. You can simply download from that locations. Is git is a locations, or from there you can download. After that, once everything is done, then in your local machines you can run this one. Once you run this one, it will look like these applications, like hello world. This is one of the Python applications you built. After that, if you want to build this, deploy this one in the web apps, then you need to go through, deploy the code in your local folder using the AZ web app command. Then you build this with this command, you can deploy. So deploy the sample. If you want to deploy the sample, so it will be deployed. Once deployment is done, after that, it will browse under Azure websites.net. Under that, this same applications locally you run, but it will run under the Azure applications, Azure portal. Web page or applications. Web page can contain static, informations, dynamic informations, applications. User, a portal. This is the portal. From the portal, user will be able to access.
So when they go to that, the app should just come up.
Yes, it's same like this one. This is the applications. This is the default applications, but you can have your own. And browser, if you go to overview, and on the right hand side, this is the browser. You can go from here, or this is the URL.
Web app.
And how to deploy, there's a few different options. You can see there's the FTP deployment as well. The FTP file transfer protocol, you'll be able to deploy these applications in the cloud.
user wouldn't really find this useful.
Standard this is for the developer.
Yeah.
Developer will build and deploy the applications.
If I wanted to deploy CD burner software, you couldn't use this.
No, not for that purposes. It's like you coding. You have done some coding with like PHP or Python, Node.js. Once you have done your coding, you build a particular file.
Can you deploy other apps, like useful ones?
Other apps means
Well, because in 365 you deploy Word, Excel, all that stuff. But how do you deploy your other work apps?
no, this is a platform, so you can build the applications, you can run the applications, but um, other applications you cannot run here in same like a Office 365. Office 365 you add some other applications and you use. So this is not for the user. This is more on for development and deployment for those
So you have
purposes.
to use 365 for that.
Yes, that's a user level, but this is more on development side. You building, you deploying. So this is mostly for the DevOps people, developer. For example, someone build Python applications. So that person want to run that one application. So how that person will run? So you need a servers. So they will provide you the servers. They provide you all the resources. So simply you can deploy in here. And after that, if you want to have this is a one slot is running at the moment, but you can add multiple slot. Multiple slot means you can like for example same file you can have multiple versions, version 1, version 2, version 3, and three of them you may make some changes over there, so you can run any of the applications over there. For example, one is like test applications you're running, another one you created for productions environment, so you can run that one. Deployment center is another sections where you can download some particular files in here. You can this is a repository. You can put all these files in here, and from that you can run as well. So GitHub, Bitbucket, they are the well-known repository. So on that repository, developer they save their information over there. They upload their versions of applications over there, and from there you can run as well. Then for these applications, you can have a backup. So backup is not configured. Click here to configure backup for your app. Storage not configured, so you need to have some storage for backup. You just need a storage account and you'll be able to back up the application services in your storage account. So when you administer this portal, even if you are not a developer, but simply you'll be able to provide these options for the developer team, so they can do their development and deploy in here. But if you want to do some practices around the development areas, you need to download few things. You need to download um, Python, GitHub, those things you need to download, and then after that you'll be able to do. So I'll just like copy this one and save inside our Dropbox summary over there. So this is done. I was working with the backup services. So backup. So I need storage services. I go to storage services. Now I have to get container again. This is the locations. So I selected my locations. You can have a schedule backup every 1 day at particular time. You can back up to database servers as well. Yeah, if you have a database services running with your applications, you can put a backup for that as well. So now you have your backup setups. Then custom domain. So if you want to change the name, you can add custom domain in here. Click on custom domain. You need to verify the custom domain such as abc.com .au. If you select that, you need to have a CNAME, custom domain verification, CNAME configurations. So host availability, donor ownership, domain ownership, these things will be verified. So you need to go to that particular domain and need to make some changes over there. So if you want to change the domain name, even you can purchase domain from here as well. There's a last options in here. You can add service domain, you can purchase a domain from here. So you got multiple options. Then after that, if you want to have the SSL certificate, you can say HTTPS only TLS versions you want. And if you want to add particular certificate services, you can bind from here as well. Even like manually, you can configure app service plan, scale up and scale out, you can configure. But this is for individually these services, but you already selected app service plan for this one. We already have a app service plan set up for this one. So if you configure something from app service plan, it will be for the entire applications. Entire plan can be applied to many applications, but individually for particular applications, you can make some changes as well. Yeah, so this applications is running. The default app service is running over there, and we can see that one. And we can see some usage as well. You can restart the application services. and pretty much you can stop, you can browse all these options you have from here. So that's pretty much things you can do with the web applications, but this is more on developer oriented. So much more, they will developer normally do coding, and then it will be very simple for them to run the applications in the cloud.